righty. I got a few things to say. Let's start with who is having a hard time getting confirmed. Okay, let's just go through the names here for a second. What's really being discussed here? Who's under the gun? Well, let's start with Pete Hegseth. Okay, what is he going to do? He's going into the Department of Defense. He is looking for those weasels that have been changing everything in our Defense Department, has been culling anybody who disagreed with Joe Biden, anybody who thought Donald Trump might be right. They got rid of all of those people. Then they committed another atrocity, I believe, for our military, demanded that you get the COVID shot or you were out. It was crimes, incompetence, maybe crimes of incompetence in Afghanistan, at least. They were trying to control the message, control the military through DEI. So Pete Hegseth is a target. Why? Because he's going to find out what's going on. He's going to run investigations, and he's going to stop it. Okay. Next, FBI, DOJ. So what is he going to do? What is Kash Patel going to do when he gets into the FBI? Well, he's going to investigate crimes, the weaponization of the FBI, also the way that they protected those in Congress or those in power, i.e. the Hunter Biden laptop, i.e. the FISA courts. So he's looking for bad guys while also trying to clean it up, because you can't clean it up if you don't know who the bad guys are. Then you have the Director of National Intelligence, and Tulsi Gabbard. She's under fire. Why? Well, she needs to go in and expose all of the black ops and those leaking lies to the press and shoring up the lies for members of Congress and rooting out the darkness between the members of Congress, the White House, the military-industrial complex, and the intelligence community. What is RFK? Why is he being challenged? Because he's going to expose the lies of COVID, the corruption, and corruption with pharmaceutical companies. He's going after and breaking that all up. These are all big businesses, big businesses for congressmen and senators and the government. This is the center of public-private partnerships, okay? And they all involve people who want to go in and find out the root of what's really going wrong here. So they're all under attack. But what did the Democrats say is the existential threat to the Republic and all mankind? What was it?
Global warming.
Global warming.
Yeah.
Global warming. Guess whose nomination just flew by? Doug Burgum.
Burgumentum, yeah. Sure did go fly by.
Doug Burgum. That is weird.
You'd think for the Department of the Interior would be a big concern for a bunch of people who think global warming's the biggest concern.
What he's going to do is he's going to reverse a lot of the things and make coal, gas, oil exploration okay for many parts of the interior of the United States. He sailed through. Now, how does he sail through if he's just going to be his role will be to destroy the opposition to oil, gas, and coal? Notice what he's not going to be doing. He's not going to be investigating the government. So forget about what we said about the biggest threat. No. The biggest threat seems to be the people who are looking into corruption. So I was a little outraged. I've been a little outraged all week. And I want to clarify things to make very, very clear. We're talking about threats to our democracy. That's what they said. And I believe that to be true. We're talking about the rule of law, right? But let's actually look at what is being said in these so-called confirmation hearings. On day one, with Bernie Sanders and RFK, America's favorite millionaire socialist was railing about onesies. Onesies. What? That's the great moral crisis facing this country while we teeter on the edge of war, while the economy is in free fall, while we have corruption all throughout our government. with COVID and pharmaceuticals, onesies is the thing you're bringing up, while the very institutions he claims to protect have all been turned into political weapons. Then when RFK Jr. had the audacity, the unmitigated gall to point out that this self-styled champion of the working class was the single largest recipient of pharmaceutical money in 2020, what happened? What happened? The old man went nuts. Oh, I knew this was going to come up in my socialist dreams. What did he do? He did what they all do. He had to silence RFK. He had to have him dismissed. He needed to discredit him. He needed people not to hear what RFK was saying. The same man who has spent decades raging against corporate greed suddenly has nothing but caveats and excuses when the money was going his way. Now, I don't think it was, but let's just say that was a lie about Bernie Sanders. Let's just say that RFK just made that up. Okay. What had to happen? Well, Bernie Sanders needed to be able to clarify, right? He needed to be able to say, that's not true, and here's why it's not true. But he couldn't. Okay? He just had to shout it over what RFK was saying. He had to silence and talk over RFK to stop the accusation. He needed to defend himself and explain that's what would happen in a fair system. But no one on the receiving end can silence the senators. No one on the receiving end can talk over them and say that's a lie and get the control of the room back so they can set the record straight. The senators can. See, the questions are akin to, when did you stop beating your wife? And I think that was an actual question for Pete Hegseth last week, was it not?
Yeah.
When did you stop beating your wife? These hearings are not advise and consent as the Constitution requires. They are smear, destroy, and delay. Let's move on to Kash Patel, the man accused, without any evidence, of course, of planning to weaponize the DOJ and FBI. That's laughable. Who's accusing him of that? The very senators who have spent the last 20 plus years weaponizing the entire government against the American people. The same people who oversaw the raids on journalists, the spying on sitting presidents, the suppression of political opponents, the imprisonment of pro-life activists while violent rioters just walked free. These are the people who have the audacity to clutch their pearls about the politicization of law enforcement. The hypocrisy is so thick, I almost choked to death on it. And then there's Tulsi Gabbard. God bless Tulsi Gabbard. When she finally got a chance to speak, she laid it out plain. Corruption in our intelligence community is not a theory. It's a fact. It's a matter of record. It's not even in dispute. But did anybody talk about that? No. Smear, silence, destroy. Instead, they smeared her. She's a Russian agent. She's a traitor. She's a spy for Syria. She doesn't care about the Constitution. These people are so desperate to maintain their stranglehold on power, they will destroy anyone who has the gall or the opportunity to expose them. They're all rallying around the idea that these people must be stopped. Why? Why did Doug fly through with the Department of Interior if that's the biggest problem? Because that's not the biggest problem. They know the biggest problem right now is they're about to be exposed. So they have got to destroy and delay and stop these people. They asked her if Edward Snowden was a traitor. They weren't interested in her answer because the truth is too dangerous for them. They're not interested in an actual answer on any of these questions. Here's the truth. Is Edward Snowden a traitor? Well, I don't know. We could talk about that back and forth, but I know he shouldn't have ever had to blow the whistle, especially to the press. But it's because of this very committee, senators. It is because of many of you. In fact, you from Colorado that are questioning me on that. You were in the Senate at the time. Why wasn't he comfortable coming to you to blow the whistle? Why is it he couldn't become a whistleblower? He had to go to the outside press. See, all of the things that they were doing that he exposed, I don't like the fact that he exposed them because it hurt the United States, but I'm glad he exposed them because what you were doing, what you in oversight were allowing to happen for years was against the Constitution, was against our rule of law. So he shouldn't have had to blow the whistle. You, all of you sitting right there on this panel, you're in charge of oversight. You failed. And you dare question me? Maybe you should do your damn job. Maybe you should stop the unconstitutional surveillance programs before they ever begin. These are the people that oversaw the FBI lying to the American people about Hunter Biden's laptop. The laptop that proved the sitting president of the United States and his family took tens of millions of dollars from foreign adversaries, including China. The same China that is threatening the United States, threatening Taiwan, the same China that these very senators allow to buy up American farmland and land around our own military bases. The same China that floods our streets with fentanyl while their partners in Mexico butcher Americans at the same border. While these same senators do nothing while millions of unknown, undocumented people flood over our borders and have empowered the cartels. Don't you dare ask me who the traitor is, Senator. Don't do it. Where are you on any of these? Let me ask you, Senator. Let me ask all of you. Who's the traitor here? Is Edward Snowden the traitor that just has to be executed because treason comes with execution? So is he the traitor here? Is he the biggest traitor? That happened 15 years ago. Your technology on spying and corruption is far beyond anything he ever said. Is he the traitor? Or is, Senator, let me ask you, the president, President Joe Biden, is he the traitor for taking millions of dollars from our enemy? Is his family, did they commit treason? Or is it the people under your oversight who knowingly spread false information to protect that family? Or is it you, Senator? Are you complicit? Are you corrupt? Or are you just simply incompetent? Because it's one of the three, incompetence, corruption, or outright treason. Which is it, Senator? That's what I'd like to hear. Pick one. Because the country is waking up and the American people are demanding an answer. And we will get it in the end. You cannot build this house of lies. It's already crumbling around. Now would be the time to tell the truth, Senator. Because we're looking for a lot of answers here. Who is actually executing the duties of the President of the United States in the last 6 months? Maybe the last 4 years. I don't know how long. When did you know, Senator? Did you know who was protecting, who was silencing anyone that was trying to say, maybe we have a problem here, the president is clueless? By the way, while we're on this topic, who is responsible for the coup to overthrow a president of the United States? Because that's what it was. How did that happen? Who was actually there? Who made that happen and then selected Harris to be the Democratic candidate? Who did that? How did that happen? I'm so interested to know because none of it was constitutional. And why did whomever actually came up with the huge list of names for presidential pardons include so many of you, senators, so many congressmen, so many people who dare to point the finger my way? Who is in charge of that list? And why are you on those lists? Is this the reason you're afraid of people that are simply looking for the truth? Because I want to be crystal clear on what this really is. I want to be clear at this point in my rant, of what this is really about, what's really happening in Washington, D.C. right now. This is the deep state and all of the corrupt senators right now fighting for their survival. That's all this is. It is the act of desperate people doing all they can to stay out of jail. Literally, stay out of jail. You start exposing the corruption in the military-industrial complex, it goes right to the senators. You start exposing the corruption and the black ops that are happening in intel community, it goes right to the senators. You start exposing what happened at the DOJ and FBI, it goes right to the senators. They're all oversight. Many of them benefited from these things politically and in power. They're trying to stay out of jail. This is the ruling class, Democrats and Republicans, panicking. For the first time in decades, their grip on power is slipping because this president is appointing people in all positions that are going to go grab it by its roots and root it out and show it to the American people. At best, it's those who have been in bed with the intelligence and military complex who believe, at best, that war and American intervention works, doing all they can to keep their secrets and their secret policies that keep us in these wars alive. The problem is, none of their old tricks work. We've had these tricks for 100 years. Conspiracy theory, that's a Karl Marx thing. That was used by Woodrow Wilson. That was used again by the Soviet Union and the plants here in the United States. Call them conspiracy theorists, discredit them, destroy them. You've called us so many names now, we don't believe any of them. Words don't have any meaning anymore. Your tricks don't work. The smears, the leaks, the media hit jobs, the fake outrage, you've played that role too many times. It's a soap, no. It's a Mexican soap opera, a Spanish soap opera. Those things are so over the top, they're hysterical. You've played that role too many times. We know. We know the system is corrupt. We know the game is rigged. And we know there is no moral high ground left for you to stand on.